court meeting. So the agenda we have, we won't be able to veer from it today, but we have a good group, good-looking crowd today, and some special guests with us, so we're looking forward to introducing them. Before we start, we'd like to open our court meetings with the Pledge of Allegiance, and today I've asked our Public Safety Director, Stacy Halcomb, to open us up. All please stand.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I think I called the wrong title. He's Emergency Management Director and / Public Safety Director. Is that all right? Thank you. Okay, we'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. First item on the agenda will be the approval of the minutes from our previous meeting. You all have received a copy of those. What would be your pleasure?
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Right. The next item then on the agenda is one of the things we love to do here at Pulaski County Fiscal Court. We love champions, and we love to brag on our champions. Our youth are involved all over this county, and everywhere we turn, they're making us proud. And we've got a special group with us today. This is the Meese Middle School state champion cheerleading team, and we want to take time to recognize those. Coach, where's Coach at? Let me see. Stand up. Who's it? Is the coaches? Stand up here. Tell us a little bit about what you went through in this endeavor this year.
Up to the microphone, please.
Okay, you gotta come up here and be seen on TV. What goes into becoming a state champion for?
A lot of work.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of work. I'm Sarah Robinson, and
Christy White.
and Tabitha McQueen is unable to be with us here this morning. But the three of us have worked hard together this year with an incredible group of young ladies. They have tryouts in April and begin a lot of practicing. They do camp in the summertime, and they commit to a lot of after-school practices. They cheer football season, girls basketball season, boys basketball season, generally practice 5 days a week. They commit to individual gymnastic practices on their own, and then they do competitions in addition to all of their athletic endeavors. And so they had a number of competitions throughout the season. I'm going to go with between 5 and 7 competitions. And then we also had a number of expos where they go and they perform, but they're not judged, where they have time on the mat to compete in front of other people. But it just takes a lot of time, a lot of effort. Couldn't do it without an incredible group of parents and a booster club behind them that they raise a lot of money to provide for the young ladies. Their dedication is unmatched and unparalleled, both on the mat, academically. These girls work hard. A lot of them are 4.0 students, and the ones that aren't are really working and achieving in the classroom. Their character can't be spoken high enough of. So they're great citizens. But they went to state, and they hit a routine that was nearly flawless. And so we were really proud of them. And they went down to Florida then and competed at nationals. And while 13th in the nation may sound like wah, wah, wah to some people, it was the furthest that Meese Middle School has ever advanced.
Yes, in the junior high division. Yes, it was a huge accomplishment.
And they competed, they made it to finals. So there were 26 teams in their division, and they competed in finals. And that's a huge accomplishment for middle school cheerleaders, and we're very proud. Yes.
We are definitely proud, and also with you today I see is Mr. Calvin Rollison. He's the principal at Meese Middle, so we want to thank you for your investment in our children. It shows that we've got a lot of people who care. We're really turning out some quality individuals in our school program, so we're proud of you. I'm going to read the list, and as I read your name, if you would, if you just come up here, we've got an award to give you. I think, Leslie, do you have those?
Yeah, I was just going to wait for this.
Okay. Well, we'll get you up here as I call your name, and then we'll get a group picture together. But let's hear it one time for our champions. I've got with us today, I've got Michaela Waters, Zoe Hampton, Emma Ashlock, Anna Claire Elnor, Autumn Phelps, Courtney Minton, Carly Champlin.
Just line up around here.
Yeah,
Around us. Come all the way around.
come on up, we're gonna get it all in front of this, in front of me here. Emily Sears, Michaela Harmon, Blakely Helton, Michaela Blankenship, Kelsey Gaines, Jaslyn Garrett, Emily Estep, Audrey Kaiser, Brooklyn Cooper, and of course coaches Tabitha McQueen, Christy White, Sarah Robinson. So, come on.
Good job,
Try to get a picture with our champions here.
Make a good circle.
Yeah.
Or even if some of you want to.
Make sure you can see the camera. If you can't see the camera, they can't see you.
Which one?
Y'all know how to do this. I know it. Don't make me coach you because I don't know how.
Congratulations, girls.
Good job, ladies.
Congratulations. And girls, with this, we're going to award you with our highest honor as a Pulaski County Colonel. So we've got those given to your coaches there. They'll distribute those. But thank you all for your hard work and effort. Keep it up. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Congratulations, girls. Good job.
Next item then on the agenda is old business, which we don't have any listed under item 4 there. So in item 5, new business, I've got a couple with us today. First, I have Mr. Aaron Dockery would like to speak to us on behalf of the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet. So Aaron, if you'd like to take the mic, please.
Good morning, everybody. Like you said, my name is Aaron Dockery, and I'm here on behalf of the Transportation Cabinet to present District 8's recommendations for the 2018-2019 Rural Secondary Program. The tentative allotment for Pulaski County this coming fiscal year is $2,120,885. The aforementioned value is tentative and contingent on annual budget meetings, therefore it is subject to change. This value is only a projected estimate and will be finalized at a further date. Out of this allotment, funds for routine and traffic maintenance will be withheld by the district office. These maintenance funds, based on the number of road miles in Pulaski County, are set at a fixed cost of $1,060,400. There are approximately 221 miles of RS roads in Pulaski County. Also, out of the rural secondary allotment, flex funds will again be distributed as they were last year to the Pulaski County Fiscal Court. The approximate amount expected to be distributed for the next fiscal year to Pulaski County is $530,221. These funds can be used at the discretion of the court to improve county roads or state rural secondary roads. The total remaining approximation of $994,789 will be used by the Cabinet for improvements on rural secondary roads. We're proposing the following projects. Resurface of Kentucky 3189 Pulaski County Park Road, beginning at Kentucky 80 and continuing until the end of state maintenance. Resurface of Kentucky 804 Garland Bend, beginning at Lakeshore Drive and continuing until the intersection of US 27. Resurface of Kentucky 1247 and Science Hill, beginning at the intersection of US 27 and continuing to the intersection of Kentucky 635, and the resurface of Kentucky 1003, beginning at mile point 6.4, approximately Whetstone Creek Church, extending to the intersection of Kentucky 80. These are District 8's recommendations for the 2018-2019 program. The final decision on any and all projects will be made in Frankfort. Any other recommendations that the court has will be documented and carefully considered. At this time, I would be happy to answer any questions, and if there are no questions, I'd like to ask for the court's approval on these recommendations.
Motion to approve them.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All All in favor?
No.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Dockery. Okay, next then, and as we're discussing our rural and secondary roads, we have with us today Ms. Carolyn Kelly. Would like to speak to us regarding a program that she's involved with that we're going to try to fight for county road money to make sure that we get to continue improving our roads. So, Ms. Kelly, if you'd like to approach the microphone, please.
Thank you, Judge Kelly, and thank you all for allowing me to speak in court this morning. As I said, my name is Carolyn Kelly. I'm the executive director, or excuse me, the director of research and communication for TRIP, which is a transportation group based in Washington, D.C. I'm here today because we've produced a report that looks at the condition of roads and bridges, as well as traffic safety and economic development, both statewide in Kentucky, and we've also got a separate report that looks at the condition of local roads and bridges here in eastern Kentucky, which includes this county. So what I'd like to do this morning is just briefly present some of the findings of our new report that underscores the importance of the area's roads and bridges, as well as their current condition and some of the impacts that has on daily life here in eastern Kentucky, as well as on safety and economic growth. Before I get to the findings of the report, let me first explain a little bit about who TRIP is, my organization, and what we do. TRIP is a national nonprofit research group based in Washington, D.C. We produce both state-specific reports like this one that we're releasing today in Kentucky, as well as nationwide reports. And those reports look at road and bridge conditions, traffic congestion, highway safety, economic development, and transportation funding. Since our group was founded more than 40 years ago, we've produced more than 500 reports in all 50 states. So with that introduction, let me turn to some of the findings of the report that we're releasing today. Like I said, it looks at road and bridge conditions as well as safety and development here in eastern Kentucky. This report specifically looks at the condition of roads and bridges in Highway District 8, which includes this county and about 10 others. Kentucky's transportation network is literally the engine of the state, but that engine at this point could use a tune-up. Many of the area's roads and bridges and the state's roads and bridges are becoming deteriorated, and many of them have a traffic fatality rate that's much higher than both the statewide average as well as the national average. That's because a lack of transportation funding has led to the roads and bridges becoming increasingly deteriorated and having a high fatality rate, because a lot of the safety improvements that would be necessary aren't able to be implemented because there's a lack of funding. Here in Highway District 8, according to our report, 22% of county-maintained roads are in poor condition. That means there's potholes and rutting and cracks on the roads that are visible to the eye. Only 29% of roads here in this district are in fair condition. Those roads are also in rough condition in some cases and need repairs. We've done a survey of the Kentucky Magistrates and Commissioners Association to find out the condition of roads in each of their counties, and according to that survey, they've told us that about 29% of county-maintained roads in District 8 need to be resurfaced, but the funding is available for only 3% of the roads to be resurfaced, so that leaves a large number of miles of roads that need resurfacing, but that the funding just doesn't exist right now to make that happen. And according to that survey, 13% of county-maintained roads need reconstruction, so full-on from the ground-up reconstruction, but the funding exists for only less than 1% of those roads to be reconstructed. So in addition to looking at the condition of roads in this highway district, we've also looked at the condition of local bridges, and many of those bridges are aging and showing signs of that age. In fact, here in Highway District 8, 6% of bridges are structurally deficient. Now, what that means when a bridge is structurally deficient is that there's significant deterioration to the major components of the bridge. That's the the deck, the substructure, and the superstructure of the bridge. In our report, we've identified here in District 8 the 25 most heavily traveled bridges that are structurally deficient, as well as we've ranked the 25 structurally deficient bridges with the lowest average rating for the condition of the major components of the bridge. Now, it's important to note that even though these bridges are structurally deficient, they're safe for travel and they're maintained and monitored on a regular basis by the organizations that are responsible for their upkeep. But many of them do need significant repairs or replacement. And when these bridges are structurally deficient, some of them might be posted for lower weight vehicles, or even closed. And that has a significant impact on daily life, particularly for school buses or emergency response vehicles or agricultural vehicles that now may not be able to take the most direct route to their destination. It increases their travel time. It can impact safety if it's an emergency response vehicle that now has to go out of their way to avoid a closed or a posted bridge. So the condition of these bridges really does have an impact on daily life here in the area. The report also looked at traffic fatalities and the rate of serious crashes and fatalities on the roadways here in District 8. We found that over the last 3 years, 161 people lost their lives on the roads here in District 8. That's an average of 54 fatalities each year. And there were more than 450 serious injuries during that time in the last 3 years. We've also calculated the fatality rate here in the district, and it's among the highest in the state and much higher than the statewide average. Here in Highway District 8, over the last 3 years, the fatality rate was 2.17 deaths per 100 million vehicle miles of travel. To put that in perspective, it's significantly higher than the statewide average of 1.54 fatalities per 100 million vehicle miles of travel, and the national average, which is significantly lower even than that, of 1.08 fatalities. So despite some of the deficiencies that we note in this new trip report, where the roads and bridges are deteriorated and the fatality rate is high, it's important to note that these deteriorated roads and bridges are not at all a reflection of the ability or the capabilities of the local municipalities and the counties and the State Department of Transportation. In fact, these organizations are doing a tremendous job with the funds they have available. But the reality is that the state faces a significant and growing transportation funding shortfall, and as a result, the condition of the roads and bridges will continue to deteriorate, and that fatality rate that's already high may climb even higher in the future if some of these additional safety features aren't able to be implemented on the roads. Our survey of the local county officials also asked them what their top transportation challenges are in their home district. And here in District 8, the officials identified the need for additional roadway capacity to support economic growth and development, and the need for increased road and bridge repairs and bridge replacements as their greatest challenge. Many of those challenges come back to a lack of adequate funding. There are many transportation projects that are being left stranded on the drawing board because there's not enough funding available. So there are needs that are identified that can't be met with the level of funding that's available right now. Unless the state and the counties and the municipalities can increase the amount of transportation funding, many of these critically needed projects won't move forward, and the roads and bridges will continue to deteriorate, and that fatality rate could climb even higher. Without adequate transportation funding, Kentucky and the nation could lose their competitive edge, the roads and bridges will continue to deteriorate, and the fatality rate could continue to climb if some of these improvements aren't made. So that, like as I said, concludes just a brief overview of the findings of our report, which is available on our website right now if you'd like some additional information. And thank you again, Judge Kelly, for the opportunity to present this to the court this morning. And if there's anything that you all or some of the local officials would like to add, we'd be happy to include that in the dialogue.
I'd just like to say this, just to put it in perspective for our magistrates. You know, I had this discussion, I think, the other day with Magistrate Wielden. If we were just to resurface all of our roads, and keep in mind, Pulaski County has more county road miles than any other county in the state. If we were just to resurface the roads, not including all the bridge work and the reconstruction that you're talking about, if we just resurfaced our roads, it would take $150 million to do that. And as we just heard, what our budget is going to be about $2 million to approach some of these roads here in this next year. So, and I'm just talking, I guess that's not including our regular county roads. He's just talking about rural secondary. But with what we've got to work with, our magistrates do a good job making sure that they prioritize these road improvements. But you're right, it's a huge shortfall, and we get our funding from the state for that, and that comes directly from gasoline taxes. So we're up against a real problem here. But you know, one thing I want to make sure that we do, you know, this infrastructure, a strong infrastructure, is so important to a strong future here in Pulaski County. And, you know, I know I'm gonna fight for that. I know our magistrates are gonna fight that we continue to get funding for this infrastructure, because we want to make sure that the future of Pulaski County is in better shape than when we came here. So we're gonna keep fighting for that. I appreciate you coming, Ms. Kelly, to share that report. If you all have any comments that you would like to share, gentlemen?
We do the best we can do with what
Yes.
we got to do with, you know, that's all we can do.
All right.
Any options of getting special funding?
The TRIP as an organization doesn't look at the best ways to get additional funding. Our goal is to make sure that the residents and the officials and decision makers in a given area understand the condition of their system, so that when there's an opportunity to provide more funding for it, they've got all the information available. So, like I said, we're here to provide the data so that those decisions can be made. We don't make recommendations in terms of how to fund the improvements that are needed. Like I said, those decisions are left to the residents and the officials in a given area.
Well, thank you for coming and sharing that with us. And this is our newspaper reporter here. If you'd like to talk with her, I'm sure she would love to.
Sure. Yeah, and thank you again for the opportunity to present the findings to the court this morning. I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Next item then on the agenda will be the approval of our road work requests. We've got a copy of those in front of you. I didn't notice, do we have any speed limit changes?
No
I think we do.
Motion.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Then we also need to request 3,000 tons of rock for March.
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda will be our jail personnel policy adoption, which we received last week. You have any recommendations there, gentlemen?
Pardon me?
Did you say Joan?
Gentlemen, I'm sorry.
Oh.
Yeah, you recommend,
On page 2, I guess it is, of the personnel and procedures, it shows some raises that I don't know how we're gonna be able to pay. I mean, you got a major going from,
Jailer, would you mind? No, please. I'm sure we'll.
again, it looks like you got a major going from 43,000 to 65,000.
That's a range.
Huh?
That's a range that person could make, but there's no, there's obviously no one going to jump from $43,000 to $65,000. That's the range that person could make over a 20-year period that they're there.
It says pay scale for the position shall be as follows. What's that? I mean, to me, that sounds like that these people are going to be getting.
Well, I can assure you that there's no one at that facility that's going to be to jump that much in any one time. I mean, we give raises pretty much as the county gives raises to other people. If the county gives a raise, we give a raise. The original hire, we do give them a 6 months after they've been there, they get a raise, and then the 1 year they get a raise. And those are very small raises in that much. I mean, if the wording of that is where it is concerned, we could probably reword that. But I mean, there's, if I'm thinking this correctly, even in your all's list of truck drivers, you've got a list where they make from here to here. If I remember seeing that correctly, and I haven't looked at one in a while. So
we've got a top out, we've got a starting pay and then a top out pay.
Yeah.
It takes 2 years to top out.
Correct.
They get a step raise the first year they've been here, and then the second year they top out.
It would take a lot longer for our employees to top out, a lot longer.
But of course, our top outs are nothing,
Well, I understand.
no ranges like
Right.
46 to 65,000.
Yeah, they're $1,000 a year or something. For 2 years, they can top out.
I was looking at the minimum on the left-hand side of all those. It's like a training officer down there goes from 20,800 to his minimum, and the new schedule would be 28,000. So that's $7,200 right there, just the minimum raise.
That's something, I mean, the raises is something we'll have to work on in our budget year when we do our budget, right, Joan?
Because, yeah, that's what I was thinking, because just even moving to the low end of the thing, of the scale.
Can I look at yours? 'Cause I
Of course you can, yes. Even moving to the low end of the scale. I know from budget workshops that I've gone to this year, jail receipts, revenues are diminishing.
Oh, yes.
And I don't know where the money's going to come from, because while jail costs are diminishing, our pension rates are going up by approximately 20% in the hazardous duty category. So I'm wondering how these expenses would be covered. It's going to be hard at where we are now, because we've got to look at the pension problem.
Absolutely. It's important for everybody, every person that works
It
for the
is.
county in any position they're in.
Correct.
And we're gonna have to
We-
come up
we've
with
made
at
a
least $1 million to put
Yeah,
this.
we've
put
made
in
promises
pension.
to our employees to make sure that we take care of their pensions, and that's
I
coming
can-
up.
I
That's
can
gonna
see
be
the way
a-
this is listed that it is concerned. I can take this part back
I'll
and work
I'll make a
on it.
motion that we approve everything but the pay scale.
I'll second that.
That's fair
And then
enough.
we'll work on
Absolutely.
that when we do our
Right.
budget.
I mean, but seriously, you wasn't thinking about giving this guy that kind of raise.
No, this is pay scale. There's no way, like I said, I promise you, there's no person in that facility that would receive that kind of raise as long as I'm there. I can tell you that.
We've got a motion and a second, but I want to discuss the CERT program there. Is that brand new under your administration? Is that what that is? I know there was some documentation there in the back that was pretty intensive about that.
Do you have your page there for me, please?
Oh, let's see, it's back towards the
7.08.
Say it again, 7.4.
7.08, section 7.08.
$7.08.
I just wonder if you'd elaborate on what that's gonna bring us and what's different than what it used to be.
Have you found it? Are you there?
Yeah, I'm just wanting to glance over, make sure I understand what's. Okay, yeah. What that does, if anything serious happens at our facility, like a riot or something of that nature, we're gonna have to go into that facility, if I'm looking at the right one.
Yeah, I think that's.
Yeah. We've trained officers to be able to do that. At the time, we just had you walked in like what we've got on. And now, when there's a problem, if you've seen any of these prison shows, they put the equipment on, they put their helmets on, they put their vest on, they put everything in. We have never had that happen. We do have a shield that we can carry in that does, it's kind of curved around like this, that the first officer going in will take, and it's actually like a taser. And that, you push them up against the wall, and if they comply, you're not doing anything but holding them against the wall till the other officers get a hold of them. But it does tase you if you don't. We're just training our officers to be able to remove somebody that's a problem without harming them. Because they throw feces on you, they throw urine on you, they throw whatever they've got on you, and we go in and we have to protect everybody that's in the cell. So we have to remove that person, and this team is trained to do that with the minimal force necessary.
And is that something that before now has not been a
Well,
program?
we not have anybody trained, just ever who's on duty, just jumps in there, and then, they don't have the proper gear. These people have the proper gear, because when you go to wrestling around, you got metal bunks in there, you got concrete floors, you got concrete walls, you got stainless steel commodes and stuff. So all that's, can cause a danger to our officers. And, you know, we want them to be protected. So all we're doing is training these officers to be able to protect themselves and the inmate from causing any danger to anyone else.
Well, it sounds like an improvement.
Well, it's coming. There's very few jails that have it. It's great training, you know, and then there's a state has asked if jails do have these officers in there, that they may call upon 5 or 6 jails across the state to come in if they had a right somewhere. And then, you know, we'd be able to assist them in that, so.
We're gonna, just follow up, are we gonna anticipate any major change in budget for that program, or is it?
No, they do. It's just training, and then we have to have somebody train. The officers have to have 16 hours of training per year. So all this is some training. It's the same training. We instead of sending them something else, we send them this. It's, you know, they're going to training. So, and there's only a certain group that will be taking this. And if somebody wants off of it, then we'll train another one. But it doesn't cost anything because we're still training. We still send our officers to training every year. 16. They have to receive 16 hours of training every year. So.
How much training do they get to carry the weapons that you bought them or got them or whatever?
Go to the range twice a year.
That's all it takes. Is that the state qualifications? Reason being, I was talking to an insurance agent, and he was saying that they had to be properly trained in order to carry those weapons back and forth to work, or the county would be responsible for them.
Absolutely. And if they went to training 8 hours a day, 8 hours a week, for the whole time they're there, the county's going to be responsible for that. If they went to training for all week long and then worked for 3 weeks, the county's still going to be responsible because they're a county employee. You know, the county's going to be responsible for any county employee out here for whatever they do, regardless of how much training they've got.
Even when they're off from work?
Well, no, I can't answer that question. You're the one who talked to the insurance company. I didn't talk to them, so I don't know what question you asked him about that.
Well, the question I ask you is, the people that you bought the guns for, if somebody gets a hold of one or accidentally something happens to it and somebody gets hurt, the county is responsible for that? He's not at work. These guns are not used for work, right?
They're not used for work? Yes, they are used for work.
Oh, I thought you said as soon as they come in, they lock them up and then get them when they leave.
Well, what part of work are they only working while they're in the building? We have transportation officers. We have, you know, so they're at work. They're not in the facility. The weapons are not allowed behind the secured doors of the facility by any officer in the state of Kentucky.
Okay.
By any officer in the state of Kentucky.
So they're basically personal protection for them. Yeah?
Well, what does a police officer use their gun for? Is it personal protection when does a police officer use their weapon for personal protection or protect the public?
I'm assuming to protect the public because they are on duty the way that I understand it, 24 hours a day.
So they're not going to use that gun to protect themselves if they're wearing it?
Yeah, but they train. You help me, Greg. How much do we train? How much does your officers train?
We have 23 weeks of the academy, and then
23 weeks, and these train 2 days.
Sheriff, I guess the question he's really asking is this: how many hours do you all train with the weapon on the range?
they have in the academy they train 40 hours, and then we qualify twice a year.
Can you get me one?
Okay, we've got there's a motion and a second to approve the policy without the salary changes. Do we have any further discussion?
Why would the salary changes even look like this, be here like this, you know?
Well, I think you've made the motion to take that off, so we're going to take that off and rework it. I'm sure that other people have had to redo things for you all, and I'm willing to look at that and come back before the court with something different.
But if we passed it with the salaries, you could raise these guys $10,000, $15,000, $20,000?
If you passed it, it could happen, yes.
Yeah, okay.
absolutely.
Okay.
But
Without-
again, if you've noted, I don't spend anything that doesn't come before the court. It comes before the court. But if it's not in the budget for the salaries, where am I gonna find that money? I'm not gonna give them a raise if the salary budget is X amount of dollars. I can only reach that amount. You know, we've got overtime, we got everything, so some people, there's gonna be, coming up shortly, you know, we've been fortunate enough to be able to give people raises 6 months and a year, but as Joan has pointed out, there's gonna be a lot of cuts, and that's gonna affect everybody.
Yeah, for
So,
sure.
I mean, and I'm aware of that.
Yeah.
And it's my job as the elected official to do what's best for the county, and that's what I've been trying to do. And that's what I'll do. I will not throw out raises with, you know, because we have other places we're gonna have to put that money.
It's just confusing.
I understand, and that's why I'm willing to look at that, and I'll bring it back at a later date.
Okay.
All right, got a motion and a second. If there's no further discussion, all in favor? Any opposed?
Any other questions on that?
Thank you, John.
Oh, you're welcome, I had.
Sheriff, we've got a
I might give them hell of this too.
final yearly report.
Good morning.
Morning.
This is the 2017 final end of the year report. And it goes over or lists our budget, and now that all accounts have been reconciled, I have a check to the fiscal court for
I don't want.
$73,248.87 that to remit. That makes the total for the year that we've remitted. Okay, John.
I guess we'll need two motions, one to accept the year-end report.
Motion.
Second.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries, and I guess we'll need a motion to accept the sheriff's
Motion.
check. Motion, second? Second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, thank you very much, Sheriff.
Okay,
You got more?
I'm still gonna blow my horn here.
All
just
right,
a
there
little.
you go, there you go.
You deserve it. You've done a great job.
Yes.
That makes the total for the year $173,000. And I wanted to mention that since I've taken office, the sheriff's office has remitted to the fiscal court in the past 3 years $529,556.15. And I'm pretty proud of that for my staff, and because we watch every penny that we spend, because it is the taxpayers' money. And I know that the fiscal court has been able to help the sheriff's office with some of these funds that we've remitted. So I just want to thank you all for your help also.
Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. We
For
appreciate
a
it.
job well done.
All right. We have a couple roads that have been requested to be taken into the county road system. We need to get committees to look at those. We have, in the first district, we have Stormy Drive, which is a non-conforming road. I'll need two of y'all to volunteer, if you would, to look at that road.
I will.
Anybody go with Mr. Maxey?
I will.
No, I doubt it.
And then we have in the fifth district, Nature's Valley Drive. It's a conforming road, wanting to be brought in. I need two of y'all to volunteer to look at that road, please.
I'll look at it too, Judge.
Put me on that one too.
Thank you. And then next, we have the first reading of a budget amendment. Joan, would you like to
Of course.
present that?
Yes, this is the first budget amendment of 2017-18. This amendment, of course, is an ordinance, and it reflects on the budget. This is to increase revenues for unbudgeted receipts in the amount of $1,826,907.
Motion to approve.
Second.
A motion.
Always want more money.
Motion second. Any further discussion?
Me
All in
too.
favor? Any opposed? And I guess we'll need to advertise this.
We have to wait for the state local finance officer to approve it. It has to go to Department for Local Government, and as soon as that, we will have to advertise.
Okay.
So if we could go ahead and get a motion for that, because you never know when it's going to come back.
Motion to advertise?
Yes, sir.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Any opposed?
Thank you, that's all I have. Except there is a budget workshop on Friday, March 2nd, this Friday, at the Lake Cumberland Ad in Russell Springs. If anyone, and it is 3 hours training, so if anybody wants to attend. And yours truly will be speaking.
All right.
Yeah.
Next item, then on the agenda, I've got a 109 board, solid waste. We have a vacant spot on our board. Mr. Wilbur Oakes, for health reasons, has resigned from the board. And his term ends, I think, in May or June? End of June. And in his resignation, he'd asked me if his grandson could fulfill that term for him. And I would like to make a recommendation that we appoint Denny Oakes to fulfill the remaining portion of Mr. Oakes' term there.
Motion.
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you all. All right, next item then on the agenda is the Falcon Asphalt Chip and Seal 6-ton box. So we've got you all were given this at the last meeting, and I know we've got a serious problem after this winter with the freeze-thaw cycle that we were involved in. We've got a lot of potholes, probably more than I've seen in my 3 years that have occurred because of this cycle of weather. We're going to have a busy time trying to fill these holes over the next few months. And so we've been given this as a proposal to use to help get on top of that. So what I would ask you today is that we could purchase one of these pieces of equipment from the approved state bid list. But I would open that up if you all want to talk about that, or if somebody wants to make a motion.
Is it this one piece of equipment you're talking about here, or are we gonna look at others, or?
That's the one we're going to get, is the 6-ton box.
They had one over at the road department yesterday, and it's gonna hold a whole lot more material than the one that we have now. Plus, it's on a trailer, and it'll actually dump, which will make it more readily available. It'll heat it. It has a tack spray on it where they can actually spray from that piece of equipment the tack oil down into the hole, which will make it stick to the surface better. And then after they get it put in the hole, then they can run over it with the roller and pack it down. And I think it'd be a time saver. Plus, what we have now, they go out and work for 2 hours and they run out of material and they have to come back and load up and they lose an hour and a half. In the meantime, getting in and getting back out, whereas if they had a box like that, I think they could get a whole lot more work done in a day's time if we get the right people operating equipment. Plus, we could still use the one we have now. So we'd have 2 groups of people potholing roads. And I tell you, the way my roads have broken down the last 3 weeks, they could spend the next month and just on mine and would never get caught up. And I'm sure yours just like mine.
Totally agree. The roads are getting bad. I said, we gotta have some way to patch them, but
And also,
accountability is what we need more than anything. I mean, we need accountability for fixing them the right way instead of just.
also in addition to, with this piece of equipment, you actually can, chip and seal is a good mend and co-mix is in the winter months, but this piece of equipment allows us to go to a totally hot mix formula. and what we can do before our vendor Hinkle shuts down, we can stockpile our asphalt, our hot mix, and store it and use it in the winter months as well.
What he was telling us yesterday, you could get a load and roll it down, spread it out and roll it down. As soon as the temperature gets out of it, take the scraper blade and scrape it back up, put it in a pile, and then whenever we want to use it, we got that pile of aggregates, and they could put it in that machine and let it sit overnight, plugged in, and it'll bring it back to the hot phase just like it was before, and we can use it just like hot mix in the middle of winter, if they get all that figured out.
Have we looked at anything else besides that? Have you seen any?
Well, we looked at that,
Total patcher.
yeah, total patcher. I like it too. But the way they talk, the expenses of the material is a whole lot higher than doing this, and we need something that's pretty immediate, I think. I'd like to have one this afternoon.
I met the guy about the total patcher. The difference between this piece of equipment, obviously, is price difference, but you don't have to have a CDL driver with this piece of equipment. With the total patcher, you've got to have a CDL driver with a single axle dump truck, and you've got to have readability of washed eights. And in the winter months, you cannot get washed eights. And that's when we need to be doing our work in the springtime and stuff, because there's different times when they're washing eights and when they're not.
Am I correct, just for budget purposes, this is not going to require any additional staff?
No.
Okay.
Just checking. I've been working with 3 young guys or people that, if you take some time, to do a little extra, it goes a whole lot longer way. And any of your product has to have edges. You have to spend some time cutting, which requires some shovel work. As I tell them, and this piece of equipment will allow us to schedule better, meaning we can spend a day, day and a half in Jason's district. We'll go to Jimmy's district the second day, Mike's third, yours fourth, maybe fourth, then your whole day in your district, versus going from Blue John to Good Hope. It makes scheduling a whole lot easier and more accountability.
We'll still have the small patcher to kind of
Do
bounce around
emergency
and
jobs
do
or
the
something.
as-needed job today, but then we'll just schedule the new box to be in.
And the price of this thing was how much?
The 29
Right at
and
30.
change.
Yeah, 20-some thousand.
20-some thousand.
Well, it's depend upon, when we met with them yesterday, depend upon the discounts, because
But no more than 29,000.
I think the top would be 28 something.
I figure I think Glenn was around 29, but I don't know.
You're gonna get the tank,
It
the
comes-
oil.
Yes.
And then we'd have to buy a tack oil.
Have to buy oil.
Well, yeah, you gotta buy oil regardless.
You gotta buy the material put in.
No, it has to have biomaterial.
Yeah.
No batteries included.
I'd say motion to buy it.
Second. We have a motion and a second to purchase this piece of machinery. Any further discussion? All in favor? Any opposed?
Yes,
Opposed?
I oppose.
Let's make that a roll call vote then, please, because I think we.
Wilson,
Yes.
Herpin,
Yes.
Wilden,
Yes.
Maxey,
No,
Strunk.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, next.
And if this don't work, I'm gonna go back, can we still be looking at that total patcher?
Yes, sir.
I mean,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I know that's what Glenn wants, and I'd wanted that total patcher for years. But
I'd like to have one too.
20,000, I think we can try this and see if it does work.
Well, I like the price of this one better.
Well,
but
that
I
total
mean,
patcher
I
is
think-
150 something thousand.
yeah, but
That's without the truck you gotta buy to.
Yeah, then you gotta buy a
pull it.
truck to pull it with.
And then you gotta hire a CDL driver.
CDL driver to drive it.
So, yeah, I'm like you, I think Total Patcher does a good product, but this one, I think
What kind of
economically
warranty
and
does this
for,
thing come with, or does it, or?
It has a 1-year warranty on actually the frame and the box, but then your Honda engine has a 25-year warranty. Different components, like, have different.
Yeah.
all right, next item then on the agenda, we want to discuss a mowing tractor purchase from the state-approved bid list. Jordan, are you familiar with the tractor that we need for this?
I think what.
'Cause I've got the 110 horsepower cab and attached side mower. Is that, you want to speak to this piece of machinery? Or about it? Put you on the spot.
No, I think what we'd done last year, we'd rented a unit from Wayne Supply. It was a side mount mower. It allowed us to cover ground a little more quickly without the cost of a boom mower or slope mower. And I think this spec here is just kind of catches everything that could fall under that category, of course. But it'll probably be around 110 horsepower tractor, cab, probably a 2-wheel drive tractor versus a 4-wheel drive tractor if we go with the side mount mower, and less cost. You're not putting that $60,000, $70,000 boom mower on the side of a tractor. You're looking at $20,000 range. So cost is going to be a lot less. Not going to be able to mow slopes, but right beside the road to the ditch line, a little bit past the ditch line, we'll be able to cover that and cover it a lot quicker than our boom mowers.
And here's the thing about our mowers. I think years past, Joe, they used to be revolving every 3 years. There'd be a buyback. They'd get rid of them every 3 years with the John Deeres, and they used to flip them every 3 years. Sometimes they'd be okay, sometimes they didn't. With our current fleet now, you've got tractors over there with 5,000 hours. And then the oldest one has about 10,000 hours. And as you all are aware, last season, and as soon as we get through all this water, grass is going to be on us. And we've had tractor after tractor after tractor broke down, and we don't have a replacement to use to stand in the gap when we're trying to repair a mower. And that's going to be our biggest thing to deal with once we get through the patching, is the mowing and the cutting. And this is just an opportunity. Now, there's on the approved list, there's Kubota, the John Deere, and Massey Ferguson. I mean, we'll take pictures and give options, and you all decide which one that you want to. But we need to start looking at replacing our fleet. And we'll take the oldest tractor and trade in against the cost.
Yeah, I agree we need to rotate them. Because once we get a lot of hours on them like that, they do have a lot of problems. They're broke down a lot. But this right here, you're just gonna go look and get prices and then come back to us?
Yes.
So what do we need to do today? Do we need to make a motion for you to look? Or?
Yes.
I hope we need
No,
to,
we don't
do
need
we? I don't think we do, Mike. I think
I don't
if,
think we do
I just
either,
want to let
yeah.
y'all be aware that we're going to be doing that. But,
Gonna look at them and see what we
so
can.
if you can come back with something specific for us to vote on,
Yeah, different options, just same kind of baseline tractor.
we just need something, real to vote on, not just to go out and buy a tractor.
Yeah,
Okay?
it works.
All right, thank you. All right, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second? All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you all.